Okay, so as I'm using these, and I'm getting back to my beginning, he is slowly going to do what I have in this panel. So just this action of walking and shrinking back in shell, that's taking a lot of panels. So some actions definitely take more individual movements than others. And I might end up simplifying my animation a little bit. So he's kind of climbing up the back of that shell now. All right, so he's moving along here. It looks like he's climbing up the back of the rock. I don't know if I like that climbing, if I want to keep him low, but I think I want to show his head start to come in. So I'll keep that altitude. As his head goes away now. Get rid of that little artifact. That will show up in the animation. Okay, so he popped his head in. Almost done here with this part. Then next, I think I'm gonna skip right to this one. Speed it up a little bit. It's got to be easier to go in a shell than to come out of a shell. I don't know. Good animators study biology. I'm not a good animator. And you're going to get really good at merging visible, holding down Option to get new panels. And the only reason I'm not doing this in assets and then bringing it over is because I have so many different layers going on. And if I wanted to, I can even start transforming it a little bit, turning it a little bit. Making it do its own thing. Okay, and this is showing you how you can kind of turn something as well. me settle it right in there. All right. There we go. Okay, so now I can do an animation test. It's a good idea to save before you do that. Bring up my timeline. Make frames from layers, and now mine has gotten so complicated, I've got a lot of different layers. I've just got the panning. Here, I'll just play it through really quick. I've got the walking. I've got the rolling up. It just begs for sound effects. Like, okay, anyway. Now, I am going to show you, now that I have done my raw animation, because I don't think I'm going to do the whole rolling back into place. Instead, I think I'll just do a panning move back and have the character there. Like there's multiple characters. Just because the rolling, you saw how long it took to pan and move the character. You know how to do it now, should you want to. So I'm going to show you a few things. First of all, now that I have multiple assets here, and I have the walking test, which is the hardest thing, all as single frames, I'm going to show you how you can kind of program it as you start now. So my first frame in the timeline, I'm going to leave this timeline up, and now I'm just going to work with it. I'm going to turn on the frames I want. And the first frame I want is the empty background plate. For just the first frame, that's all. You know, nothing else, just this first frame, I turned that on. Then, I want my creature, but I want my creature in a different position. So this is what's kind of cool about Photoshop, is I can take this layer, as long as I'm in this frame, and I can position this layer differently. I can move it like this, and I can rotate it through transform, and I can set it somewhere. All right? But then the problem is I have to turn that off for all the other frames by selecting it all and then turning it off, and only having it turned on for the one frame. So I'm programming the layers here. So it starts with this. Next, I want this one, but where do I want it? I want it here. And then I want this one turned off. So it goes from that to that. Next frame, I want it here. I'm going to erase this little tidbit. And as long as I'm on the frame and the layer, it will all work. And now where do I want this? I want it moved about here. And I don't want the background to move yet. All right? So, going from this to this to this without this one turned on. So I'm just programming each frame with these little I buttons. See, he's kind of going to do a little hop in the beginning. Dun, dun, dun. Kind of jumping a little. turn on my guides. I need to get him into this zone before the background starts panning. So I turn my next one on. Oh, not for 3 though. This will be for 4. Don't want to pan the background yet. If I think something's too strong, like this one, I can just rotate it a little bit differently. Place it back a little bit more. So you can just keep adjusting it in little ways. That one's a little too strong. Frame by frame. And I'm just programming these individual frames, so anything I do in here will get lost if I lose these frames. That's why I saved it before. Okay, good. That's on. Now in the next one, I want this one on. And I want the background not to move yet. Good. Next one, don't want the background to move. And his claw pops out. I can even warp them at this point. Okay, so here's the rock. It's starting to push out of the rock and get up. So far, so good. And now he fully emerges. And I'm almost ready to have the camera move, but not yet. All right, good. Just kind of springs forward there. And the next one. So you get the idea. It's just as tedious. It's just I'm not creating any new layers. I'm just programming what's already there. If I already have the resources. That's another option you have. Now I've almost got him into the zone where I can start the walking test. One more. Good. And the benefit of just doing it by programming your frames like this